Today we're here at John Wells's greenhouse. It's actually the first day of spring. You would never guess that by looking at all the snow outside. But in here it's actually quite warm and it's time to start our seeds. So today we're going to talk about seed germination, seed starting, and we have behind us here, John has built this germination chamber. A germination chamber is one way to get an early start on germinating your seeds when you don't need a lot of space to grow them out. And you also can sort of create a controlled environment that's moist and warm, and that's what most seeds will need to germinate. So I'm going to have John describe a little bit more about what he's created here and what the essential components would be for a germination chamber. So what do you got here?
Nailed it. So really what we've designed is a small greenhouse inside another greenhouse. Heating this small space, it's going to save me a lot of money instead of starting all the seeds in this big large greenhouse and spending a lot more on heat. So we've kind of fabricated out of steel and polycarbonate and aluminum, just leftover greenhouse parts. And it has all the functionality of a regular greenhouse in a small package. It has heating, it has air circulation, ventilation, exhaust fan.
Great, and it could have lighting. This model does not have any grow lighting, but you could have that in there as well. If
I started earlier, I would probably add that, but I don't. I use just natural light from the greenhouse, and that seems to be good enough. And
in terms of moisture control, this is all hand watering. You're just keeping an eye on it daily.
That's exactly right. It's a complicated orchestra of events. Everything is on a spreadsheet. Yep. Things go in. We know how many days it takes that they're going to be in there. They're going to come out as fast as possible because more things are going to come right back in. Exactly. And that's going to happen over, 10, 12, 15 week cycle. Great. And then so a lot of these, smaller things are going into a larger 6-pack or 4-pack before being, transplanted into the ground or sold. Exactly right. Nursery. Great. And we're starting with some of the colder crops, onions, some of your cabbages and kales. We're going to once these are up a little bit better, yep. We're going to transplant them, and then they can kind of go in this natural greenhouse environment and not be heated. So after the seeds germinate in the germination chamber, John will typically bring them over into this sort of low tunnel space. These are beets, for instance. So this would be an area that isn't as climate controlled, but it is a little bit warmer at night in particular. So things can be protected in here. Do you have any other sort of thoughts about how you like to use this space? No, you're right on. It's just basically a transition stage from, being a very controlled environment to, basically transitioning it or weaning it to the full greenhouse, the cold environment. Great, and this is pretty inexpensive to build. It's very low tech, as you mentioned. So you could have multiple, low tunnels in here if you wanted to. Absolutely. Yeah. It's just some steel conduit and some poly. It's just kind of cobbled together. If it gets a really cold night, you've got things laid out on the ground. What do you do in that case? Because you don't have an overhead heater in here. I do have an emergency torpedo heater. Okay. Yep, for just those couple of cold nights that you just don't want to get caught and lose your plants. Great. And then you said last year, how much did you spend on that propane? What was it? It was about $20 in heat. That's great. So, you can't beat that. Yeah.